Hi everyone, my name is Gillian Chase and I am a naturopathic medical student, and today I want to go over kind of what the application process was like when applying to a naturopathic medical program. I found lots of really helpful videos online for MD programs and DO programs, but not many that were ND specific. So this video is for you if you're considering applying to a naturopathic medical program. So to give a little bit of background on myself, I'm currently in my second year out of 4 at the National University of Natural Medicine in Portland, Oregon. And as an Oregon native, I chose to only apply to NUNM because I knew it was the best fit for me. But with that being said, explore all of the options available to you to figure out what would be the best fit for you. So I have my notes here. I just want to start by going into my preparation for applying to medical school a little bit. So I've known that I wanted to be a doctor for quite some time, and that's just my personal journey. Everybody's journey is different, and I think the most important thing in your application is to highlight your uniqueness, and what brought you here is going to be different than everybody else. And so personally, I wanted to be an MD for quite some time before I was enlightened about natural medicine later in my education. And while I was focused on, studying up to become an MD, I did lots of shadowing opportunities with MDs and also DOs, and I'm very grateful for those experiences. I've seen all sorts of ways of how medicine could be practiced. I also had some amazing shadow abroad experiences in Spain and Alaska that really just rounded out my perspective of medicine around the world. So those were just bits of my experience, but everybody's gonna have a variety. So as a pre-medical student throughout undergrad, I also did many things to prepare in addition to shadowing. I volunteered at a local hospital. I also volunteered with a nonprofit. And I did other things that made me happy too, like I was involved in the club dance team, and just for the fun of it, I became a beekeeper. So I think it's important to just do things that you're passionate about, and those things will help just round you out as a person and then eventually as a future physician as well. So all of that's to say, just make sure you have other interests other than, only being a student and also medicine, because it's wonderful to be just a more whole person and be able to explore different facets of yourself, really. So one thing I do really want to highlight that I don't think enough people focus on in the preparation phase of applying to naturopathic medical school is obtaining strong letters of recommendation. So these can be either professional or they could be academic, and the most important thing is that they can speak to your work ethic, your skill set, the great qualities about you, and not just give a kind of generic answer, or the worst case scenario is a not so great representation of yourself. The next thing that I think is really crucial in applying is to make sure you have experiences with naturopathic medicine in one way or another, whether that's shadowing or as a patient, and perhaps that's part of your journey to natural medicine. I think that it's really important to shadow if you possibly can, to see how it's used in practice and not just in theory. So I personally shadowed 3 NDs, and I think that's a good number to see kind of the variety in the field, because each ND practices different, as does every doctor, and it's important, I think, to see the various ways that you could practice. So I've made a little script for you all if it would be helpful for you to use. This is just something that you could say over the phone if you call a clinic, or you could modify it to email, and it goes something like this. So, hello, my name is, I'm currently a pre-medical student. I'm contacting your office because I'm interested in becoming a naturopathic doctor, and I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to shadow doctor to observe how naturopathic medicine is practiced. Ideally, I would like to shadow doctor for a total of 10 hours or so within the next few months. If there is availability in Dr. schedule for me to observe some patient interactions, you can contact me at. Thank you for your time, and I hope to hear back from you. Short and straight to the point. Expect to be ghosted. You have to reach out to a bunch of people and just hope for a few to respond back. So in addition to shadowing NDs prior to applying, I'd also highly suggest that you go see an ND yourself if you haven't already. This will give you a really good sense of what it's like to be on the receiving end of natural medicine. And ND schools require that you have some familiarity or exposure to natural medicine. So just make sure that you have experiences to talk about in your interview, whether this is through working with an ND yourself, shadowing them, even better, both. So before I get into what the interview was like for me, I want to briefly go into what's required to be offered an interview in the first place. So this is what my school, the National University of Natural Medicine, NUNM, required me to submit. So just make sure you check your personal school's requirements to make sure that they're equivalent. So firstly, you need a resume detailing all of your work, volunteer, and school experiences. And a quick note on the resume, make sure to include any and all work experiences, internships, research that you've done, any publications, public service, any honors or awards you've received. Just really try to lay it all out there, everything that you've done. So you can look up templates online to make it look really professional, and you really just want to make sure to highlight any leadership positions you've held, volunteer or community work, and any and all healthcare experience that you have. Make sure to save it as a PDF, and you're good to go. As I mentioned previously, you do need at least 2 letters of recommendation. You need a proof of bachelor's degree, or at least proof that you're close to completion. The school requires that you send official transcripts from the schools that you've attended. Even if you didn't complete a degree, send the transcripts, because it shows just all of the things that you've completed. So if you don't know how to send transcripts, I want to explain a little bit. So in order to send official transcripts to the school you're applying to, you can go to the website of the school you're getting a transcript sent from and go on their website and figure out how to find your transcript as a past student. And most of the time, they'll have a portal or they'll have a staff member to contact about transferring your official transcript to the school that you're applying to. Also, a GPA of 3.0 is recommended but not required. Keep that in mind. And you have to complete some prerequisite courses, specifically in like the sciences, and that you've earned a C or higher in. But those requirements may differ a bit school to school, so just make sure you look into your specific school's requirements. And lastly, I had to complete a few essays on, I believe, 3 prompts or so. They provided on the topic of medical ethics and the philosophy of natural medicine. So just a quick note on those essays, really make sure to proofread them. I want to highlight the importance of like having a friend and a family member proofread them so that you get a different perspective. Send it through Grammarly, make sure it's double-spaced, 12-point, Times New Roman. Just make sure that you put care into it and that it looks professional and sets you up for success. So once you've submitted your application with all of this completed to the school, they might invite you to interview for a spot in the program. I personally had my interview in person, but I know many schools that are now opting for virtual interviews, so you could do it from the comfort of your own home, which is very nice. My interview lasted about 40 minutes, and I was in a room with an admissions counselor and with an ND who was a professor as well at the school. And they both took turns asking me questions, and I'm going to try to recall as many of their questions as I can so that you can think about how you might respond to them. So they will definitely ask you why you want to become a naturopathic doctor. And make sure that you have an answer prepared for this with solid reasoning. They also asked me what personal strengths I have to bring to the field and why I think I would make a good physician. Additionally, if I had experienced failure and how I overcame it, and an example in my life of when I had done that. They also asked me to think of a time when I had to address prejudice that either I had held myself previously or that others were enforcing, and how I handled it and how I had grown from that experience. I recall them asking also about my personal weaknesses that I'm working on and for a time when I had helped my community. So I hope that helps. Just think through what you might answer. Interviewing, again, it can be really nerve-wracking, but I want to just share some tips that will hopefully make it go a little bit more smoothly for you. Really just focus on remembering that the interview goes two ways. You're sussing the school out and trying to see if it would be a good fit for you too. Really just try to go into it with confidence in who you are and what you have to offer to the school and to the field of natural medicine as a whole. Really just make sure to embrace your uniqueness, your personal experiences, and your perspective. Don't give any generic answers that you just think they want to hear. Tell them how you feel. This is the time to show your individuality. Another tip that I want to share is before the interview is over, they're going to ask if you have any questions. And I think that it's wonderful to have some questions prepared to ask them. So write them down if you need to. I had one question that I asked that got really good reception that I wanted to share with you of just kind of an idea of what you could ask. And that question was, how do you see the field of natural medicine changing over the next few years? And where do you see it in 5 years or so when I may be entering the field? Okay, so my very last tip for you is that it's okay to pause and think for a few seconds during your interview and even ask them to repeat a question. I know you might be really nervous and feel rushed to answer, but they don't look down on you if you need a few moments. So those are my tips for the interview. You know, it's going to go differently for everybody. Just try to be, as calm as you can and be just really, confident in who you are. So I hope that you found this video to be helpful. I truly think that we need more NDs in the world, and I'm here to help you attain your goal of becoming one. So please feel free to leave any questions that you might have for me in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Also, I'll be linking the NUNM application page and another link to access other naturopathic schools' websites too. So thank you so much for watching.